Once again, welcome to all to this our 18th lecture. Friends, all those who have joined us today, we started this journey way back in April, and when we thought of that by being at our home, from our homes, we should at least do something for the stakeholders of tourism, and these stakeholders of tourism included uh, different students, different people belonging to various companies. And today we have reached a stage where our 18th lecture is going to go on. And this 18th lecture is on the theme Bharatiya concept of tourism and its contemporary application. I'll again repeat it. It's Bharatiya concept of tourism and its contemporary application. And who none other than is an apt person to speak about this than Honorable Shri Mukul Kanetkar ji. I'll give a very little brief about Honorable Shri Mukul Kanetkar ji. Honorable Shri Mukul Kanetkar ji is our National Organizing Secretary of Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal. And friends, he's an LLB from Nagpur. But above all, one of those orators who has been speaking at national and international level for a long time. He has been with Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal since 2012 and its National Organizing Secretary since 2016. And he has been earlier Secretary to Vivekananda International Foundation and Apex think tank of our country. And he has been developing various training modules for stress management, life management, teachers orientation, and all that stuff. You all would be very, very surprised to know he has conducted more than 2,350 workshops for more than 700,000 participants. उसका मतलब है 7 लाख लोगों तक अभी उन्होंने workshops उनके लिए की हुई हैं. And he's a visiting faculty at various IITs, IIT Mumbai, IIT Roorkee, participated in various international conferences, and he has delivered more than 8,000 lectures. That is combined lectures of maybe all the faculty members sitting over here. So you can well imagine how hardworking he is and how much work he does. He's authored numerous books in Hindi as well as in English. In English, one of the very pioneering book, which I would suggest all of you to read, that's Essential of Vivekananda. That's one of the very important and a pioneering book, Management's New Frontiers, Bharatiya Scriptures Applied, and Let's Build Organization. And he's even written in Marathi also. So Pariksha De Hasat Khelat. So it's in Hindi is Pariksha De Hanste Haste. So that's one of the very important aspects. He's written more than 2,150 articles in Hindi, English, and Marathi. And he's a pioneer of mass Surya Namaskar programs, which was the first event which was in Jodhpur in 1995. And he's organized the Guinness World Record winning events in Gwalior with students of more than 16,049. And then again in 2005 with students more than 29,973. So this is just a tip of the iceberg about him. Once you listen to him, you'll be able to understand more about him and the thought process that he has. Coming back to the topic that we have today, see what's going on is that at this moment around the globe, more than I'll say 1.1 billion tourists have been lost. More than 100 to 120 million jobs have been lost, and around about 1.2 trillion US dollar revenue has been lost. And you know, all the learned people are sitting over here. They all must be aware of the fact that when we had economic bubble burst way back in 2001, 2002, the thing that helped the economy survive was tourism. When in 2008, when we had this subprime crisis, what was the problem? The issue was all that leveraging of loans and all that, and the thing that helped them survive was tourism. Greece, Cyprus, these were the countries which were on the brink of bankruptcy, although I'll say they were already bankrupt, but what could revive them was tourism. Tourism has been one of those industries, one of those things which has been driving economy. And I've been very, very vocal about the fact that yes, tourism will not be the first to pick up. When we talk about tourism, it's a generic terminology. I mean travel, tourism, and hospitality, hotels, and all these generic industry. So it won't be the first to pick up. Obviously, it will be the last industry or the second last industry to pick up. But yes, once it picks it up, it will be the fastest to recovery. It will be the fastest growing industry, and it is the one which is going to help us revive. Now, if we dig deep back, India has been one of those countries which has been pioneering the world, which has been globally it is being acclaimed for its educational standards, the way back are in ancient India, how things were working. So the Bharatiya concepts have been, are the mool of, or the basis of everything that's going on around globally, right from that zero that we gave, everything. And tourism also holds its essence way back in our concepts. So Bharatiya concepts, and this is something which young students, my young students who are attending today's lecture or who are there on Facebook, you should be aware of, you should be very well aware of. You should try to learn about it. You should try to know about it. And when we were thinking about it, obviously the first and the only name that was in our minds was Mukul Kanitkarji. Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh Prant is holding its first ever national level event or a lecture. And who else to start with than the National Organizing Secretary? And who else, and what else to speak about rather than the tourism, which is the core competence of India, obviously, but yes, which is the core competence of Jammu and Kashmir also. And I'm very vocal about the fact that, as our Honorable Prime Minister has also said, be very vocal for your local. And tourism is going to be, the domestic tourism is going to be the backbone of our economy. And in domestic tourism also, religious tourism is going to be the backbone of our economy. And you know, you all are aware of the fact that in Mata Vaishno Devi over here in Jammu, we get more than 10 million tourists a year. So if we are able to come back to the same numbers, you can well imagine that how many people within our country will be able to support. I'll not take much of your time. I just wanted to build up a small background. I request Honorable Mukulji to kindly share your knowledge and share your wisdom with us. Pranam Mukulji, please.
It is a great pleasure and opportunity to talk to all of you about this very important subject of deliberations. As you all know, Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal works for the Bharatiya paradigm of education. How education should be perceived from the Bharatiya point of view. And when we say Bharatiya point of view or the indigenous way of looking at education, it is at all the levels, not just the content part, not just the syllabus and the curriculum part, but also the pedagogy part. So this is very important issue, that what should be the pedagogy of education. And you will be surprised that I am starting with the pedagogy of education when the topic is about the Bharatiya concept of tourism. Not just because it is the basic core subject of Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal, it is very much related to tourism. It is very much related to today's topic. Every year there are lots of youth exchange programs that go all over the world. When I was secretary of Vivekananda International Foundation in Delhi, one of the youth deliberation went to Taiwan. Taiwan is very close to Bharat from the geopolitical point of view, because it is just by the side of the southern side of China in the Chinese Sea. And it is a very independent country, but has not yet been recognized by many of the nations of the world. China claims it to be part of China, but it is a thriving democracy. It is not a communist country. It is a thriving democracy. And world's third number economy in terms of GDP. After US, after China, that is PRC, this is Taiwan is the number 3 country. So such a small country, just Haryana, the volume of the land mass is equal to Haryana and the population equals Kerala. But a very thriving country. And why it is a thriving country? So our youth delegation had gone there, and one of our Karyakartas from Vivekananda International Foundation was part of the youth delegation. When he came back, I asked him, what were his observations? There were many observations, but one of the very important observations that he said, there is a memorial of Chiang Kai-shek, who is the founder of Taiwan. In fact, Chiang Kai-shek was the premier of complete China, and when Mao Zedong did the revolution, Chiang Kai-shek had to flee, and when he fled, he went to this Taiwan, this place, and then formed the real China, if you say, that is in the Republic of China is ROC, it is called as Republic of China. Real China is Taiwan. Presently what we call PRC, People's Republic of China, it is a one-party communist party regime. It is a communist-occupied China. And real China is Taiwan. So Chiang Kai-shek Memorial is there. So our people were taken there. Our youth delegation was taken to Chiang Kai-shek's Memorial, which is one of the very important monuments of and tourism spot of Taiwan. परीक्षित जी तो निश्चित रूप से जाकर के आए होंगे, नहीं गए होंगे तो अगला टूर वहीं का बनाइए। आप जो दुनिया के अनेक देशों में घूम के आए हैं, वहां भी 5 बार जाकर के आए। That is good. So when our delegation went to Chiang Kai-shek Memorial, when they came back, when I asked them about their experiences, the first experience that was shared by one of our Karyakartas, who is a very good youth leader today, Anup Kaipalli, he said, when we visited Chiang Kai-shek's Memorial, I was surprised to see many school children who were visiting Chiang Kai-shek Memorial with their teachers. So he inquired with the guide who was there, who was translating for them also, interpreter also was there. So he asked the interpreter, what is this? So she was surprised. The interpreter was surprised. She said, you don't know what is this? Does this not happen in your country? Whenever somebody comes from outside, any political leader or any leader of the state, we take them to Rajghat. But on Rajghat, they will not find school teachers with their school students with their teacher visiting Rajghat or visiting these important places of national importance. But in Taiwan, there were so many students and so many teachers, and almost classes were going on. So Anup visited everybody and asked the teachers who could speak in English, and one of them could speak also in Hindi, because they are very much interested to have a relationship with Bharat. And he came to know this is the part of their curricular activity, not extracurricular activity. Going to Chiang Kai-shek Memorial is not an extracurricular activity. It is not a tour. It is not a picnic. It is part of history syllabus. In the history syllabus, in whatever standard, I think 6th or 7th standard, they were teaching about the great leader Chiang Kai-shek was, about his personality. So that chapter, that part of history, which included 6 chapters, had to be taught only at the memorial. It cannot be taught in the classroom. So whole of Taiwan, every student of 6th or 7th standard has to visit Chiang Kai-shek Memorial, see the various memories of Chiang Kai-shek, photographs, all the simple articles which he used, and things which are there everywhere. You go to any memorial, we go to Sardar Patel Memorial in Karnavati in Ahmedabad, you find everything that is used by Sardar Patel is there. You go to Sabarmati Ashram, you see the charkha which was used by Mahatma Gandhi and things like that. So these students learn history of Taiwan, history of how Chiang Kai-shek was asked to flee, was made to flee from mainland China and came to Taiwan in 1960s, 1961, 62, and what happened and things like that. The history was taught at Chiang Kai-shek Memorial and not in the classroom. So this is Gurukula pedagogy. This is what I call the real experiential education. Experiential methodology of education. No citizen of Taiwan will ever forget the glorious history of Chiang Kai-shek, the founder of Taiwan. You don't have to inculcate patriotism or anything if you teach history in this way. In Maharashtra, non-formally, they take students on trekking to various forts built by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. That is more of a great lesson in history for every student than what he mucks up from the textbook in the school, in the classroom, getting bored by the teacher's lecture. So purpose of tourism is not just recreation. Why Parikshit ji is saying that we are losing tourists and we are losing it as an industry and we are losing jobs? Because for last almost 2 decades, we are looking tourism only as an industry. I always say economic gains out of tourism are only side effects, are only byproducts. The knowledge that you gain, the experience that you gain, the memories that enrich your personality, that is the main purpose of tourism. And if the courses on tourism or tourism management syllabus does not include this principal main purpose of tourism, the whole outlook changes. If it is only for spending money and if it is only for enjoyment, entertainment, pleasures of senses, the whole concept of tourism is defeated. And I'm not just talking about religious tourism or historical tourism or educational tourism. No, every tourism, whether you visit a very good scenic place, you go to Himalayas, you go to Kulu Manali, you go to Shimla, you visit the very beautiful Thar, our desert in Rajasthan, you go to Jaisalmer, visit the sand dunes. You may ask, what is there to learn? You may ask, what is there to, it is not of religious importance, it is not of any historical importance. Though there is no place in Bharat which is not of historical importance. You go to Jaisalmer, you go to sand dunes, but most importantly, you see the beautiful palaces and beautiful places where the history of Bharat was created. It was fought, and you can see it in those beautiful sand dunes. What has happened in Longewal in 1965, in 1971, and all those things. But that apart, even at these places which are of importance of scenic beauty, and only from that point of view the tourism happens, like Mahabaleshwar or like the hill stations of Mussoorie and things like that. Even those places, when you go near the nature, when you live for some days in the safari, in tune with nature, you are gaining so much of knowledge, you are gaining so much of experiences, your character is being built. And that should be the prime goal, objective, aim of tourism. The pleasure, the entertainment, the enjoyment that you get is but mere side effect. And economic growth, the industry of hospitality, industry of food and travel and everything, that transportation that evolves with this increasing tourism is again a byproduct. BrahMos is one of our very important missiles. The BrahMos is produced in 2-3 places. Trivandrum is one of the places. So there is a factory where BrahMos missile is prepared. So while the BrahMos missile is being manufactured, there are hundreds of ancillary units around in the industry which supply some components of BrahMos. And then there are some travel planners or transport planners. They are also there. They are helping the taxis. Those people come, they book the taxis and all that. But will you say this taxi and all these transport companies or the transport vehicles which are used to carry the trucks, big trucks which are needed to carry these BrahMos missiles or its components. Can you say that is the main purpose of BrahMos industry? The main purpose of BrahMos industry is producing a missile. In the same way, we have to consider, think, and talk about the noble purpose of tourism. If we don't talk about this noble purpose, as rightly said by Parikshit ji, it will be the last but one industry to revive, because in the period of pandemic, in any crisis, essentials are given importance. We tend to spend on essential things, and the non-essential, the luxurious, the entertainment, the enjoyment part is kept for the last. Because it is a crisis, you cannot enjoy. Because it is a crisis, you cannot have entertainment. Because it is a crisis, you should not spend on this. Because we have made this as the prime core of tourism today, this industry, as you rightly said, would be last but one to revive. Sadly, even education is non-essential. When this homestay started, we don't call it lockdown in Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal. We don't use the negative name. हमने हिंदी में नाम दिया घरवास, घर में रहने का अवसर मिला है. जैसे राम जी को वनवास मिला था, हमको घरवास मिला है. इस कोरोना के कारण मिला हुआ घरवास परिवार के साथ रहने का अवसर है. It's an opportunity. So we convert it into a challenge, and challenge is converted into an opportunity. So this period of Garvas, in the first period, first 15 days, they will say only essential things will be open. And the essential things were grocery, milk, vegetables, things like that, which we need to sustain. In the second round, they said some more things will be opened. So some part of the markets were opened. Some part of the industry were open. Some essential manufacturing industries were open. Some essential services industries were open. In the third round of this Gharavas, this homestay, when it was loosened a little more, relaxed a little more, they opened the wine shops also, but not the educational institutes. Schools and colleges were not opened. Why? Because schools and colleges are not essential. Education may be essential, but educational institutes are not essential. It's not a joke, it's not a comedy, it's a real tragedy for those who are engaged in that. For teachers, it's a tragedy. It is a cause of introspection for all of us. If we cannot ensure discipline in schools and colleges, if we cannot give this confidence to the administration that our students will be disciplined and they will follow all the SOPs, distancing and everything, because the administration is not confident about discipline of the student, that's why schools and colleges are being treated at par with picture halls, theaters and gardens and places of recreation. So unless we see the noble part of noble cause and noble purpose behind tourism and bring it forth and to the core of why tourism, this is the change in syllabus which needs to be done. Human being, any human being cannot be groomed as a charactered human being without getting out of the boundaries of his confinements of his domicile. If he does not go out of his village, if he does not go out of his city, if he does not go out, if he does not roam around, if he does not see around, his personality cannot be groomed, his character cannot be developed. So tourism, traveling, visiting places, experiencing history, experiencing the places of spiritual importance, going there, having that experience, experiencing the nature, experiencing forest, experiencing our rivers, from our own, going near them, being in vicinity of them, staying there for some days, for some considerable time, your personality cannot be groomed. In a Bharatiya concept, there is no concept called Paryatana. Tourism is translated as Paryatana. This is a new terminology, new word in Hindi or in Bharatiya language as Paryatana. We don't find Paryatana in our ancient text. Paryatan is not there. Paryatan is roaming. Paryatan is going for some enjoyment, entertainment. It is not there, because for us, traveling was purposeful. So there are two words which we find in Sanskrit and in different texts which talk about how the human being is to be groomed. One word is called Deshatana. Deshatana means going to different places. Desha basically means space. So different parts of the country we must visit. In Marathi, Samartha Ramdas is one of the great saint poet, and he has talked about how the life is to be groomed, how the life is to be developed, evolved, and how you can live a noble and enriched life. And in that he gives importance to Deshatana. He says, if you do Deshatana, if you go and visit different parts of the country, Deshatana, he himself did it for 12 years. At the age of 12, he ran away from his own marriage and took sannyasa on his own. And then for 12 years, he was completely touring all over the country. He went to Punjab, he went to Assam, he went to north and south and everywhere, though he was from Maharashtra. Samartha Ramdas, who is known as the guru of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So he said, if you do Deshatana, your wisdom grows. The word is he has muted. Chaturya is not just...
You were going to give that word. We missed that word, sir. अब ठीक है, हमें आवाज आ रही है.
आ रही है ना? मेरे को यहाँ पर मैसेज आया, you are muted by the host. इसलिए मैं परेशान. नहीं. So he has used the word Kelane Deshatana Manuja Chaturya Yetase Phara. If you visit the country, you get Chaturya. Now Chaturya is not cleverness. Chaturya is applicable knowledge. When you get it and you know how to apply that knowledge, which in English, the nearest word to Chaturya in English may be wisdom. Wisdom is how to use the knowledge, how to apply the knowledge. And this, he specifically says, this cannot be gained by only studying the Shastras, only studying the books. Only studying the books, only studying the views, you may purify your mind and your clarity of thoughts may be there. You can be clear, your discrimination can be developed, your logic can be developed, you can think in a cause and effect way. But unless you go and visit people, unless you go and look at different parts of nature, unless you go and visit different places, you will not get wisdom. You will not know how to apply that knowledge in life. So one word which is very common in Bharatiya concept of tourism, which we are talking today, is Deshatana. And Deshatana is an essential component of every human being's education. It's a pedagogy. It is not optional. It is not recreational. It is not just for entertainment. It is must if you want to have wisdom. That kind of a thing. He created an army of his Mahantas, sannyasins. He used to call them Mahanta. So he has written Mahanta Lakshana. One of the Mahanta Lakshana, he says, in his legs there should be wheels. Legs should be wheels. Pairo mein chakra hona chahiye, he used to say. So पैरों में चक्र होने का मतलब है he should be always roaming, going here and there, going visiting places, because only by visiting places you get to know how to behave, how to conduct yourself. Acharanam. And this acharanam is the essential part of charitra. Acharan and charitra come from the same root in Sanskrit. Words are formed out of roots, dhatu they call it. So chara is the dhatu. Chara means to walk. That's why our legs are called as charana, because they help us in walking. So chara is charana, and how you walk, the way you walk, हम हिंदी में भी कहते हैं उसकी चाल ऐसी है, it's called as acharana. That is acharana, that is your behavior, and that will determine your character. So touring, roaming, going here and there, visiting places, that is chara. Chara is the essential part of charitra. Charitra is character. So tourism is not just entertainment. Tourism is not just industry. Tourism is not just an economic activity. Tourism is not just sensory pleasure activity. It is more importantly activity to gain knowledge. The second word for tourism in Bharatiya literature is, one is Deshatana, going places, visiting everywhere, going to people, talking to them, staying at their places. In ancient times, we did not have what we call today hotel industry. Why? Because every house was a guest house. Atithi Devo Bhava. Today, our incredible India, our tourism ministry uses Atithi Devo Bhava. The concept of Atithi in Bharat is so noble. Atithi, the word Atithi means one who comes to your place without telling Tithi. Tithi is date. If you go with a prior reservation, you are not Atithi. Then for that, the word is Abhyagata. Abhishtena Agata. By your coming, I feel very good. That's why you have come. You are Abhyagata. So today you have invited me for this talk. I am not guest. I am Abhyagata. I am an invited person. In Bharat, a guest is one who comes uninvited. Atithi. One who is welcomed uninvited. Atithi Devo Bhava is the uninvited person who comes to they did not have to book hotels. They will go to any village, to any householders, any grihastha's house and say, I have come here, please give me shelter. And the householder not only will welcome him, will almost worship him. पैर धो करके, बैठा करके, भोजन करा करके, तुम हमारे लिए भगवान आए. अतिथि देवो भव. That was the concept. So that is one Deshatana. Without any specific purpose, doing atanam into different parts of the country. Deshatana. Atana means touring, traveling. Atana basically means walking. At that time, they were not using many other kind vehicles and all that. So that's why Deshatana was walking around. Shankaracharya walked from south to north, from east to west, 4 times in his small life of 32 years. The second word, which today you call, you mentioned that phrase also. The tourism industry today calls it religious tourism. But the ancient Bharatiya word is Tirthatana. One is Deshatana, the other is Tirthatana. What is Tirtha? Tirtha is a special place of spiritual enlightenment. That is Tirtha. When every day you do puja, after the puja, the jalam or the liquid or milk or whatever you use for the abhisheka of the deity is then distributed to everybody. Some few drops are given after arti and we call it tirtha. And then we just take it tirtha prashanam, put it on our head and we say that we have been given prasadam and tirtha. Tirtha is called as blessing. Why? Because it spiritually enlightens you. In the same way, there are some places where the pranic vibration, where the energy vibrations are so intense. By just visiting those places, you are spiritually elevated. Those places are called as Tirtha. Like these 7 nagaris, these 7 cities of ancient time: Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika. These 7 are considered to be mokshadaini. If you go there, you are elevated to the level that you are liberated. Avantika is Ujjain. Today what we call Ujjain is Avantika. So Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya is Haridwar. Haridwar is called as Maya Nagari. So these 7 places are considered to be the most pious countries. Today you are calling it religious tourism. Purpose of visit to these places was spiritual elevation. Look at the noble purpose. If you visit with noble purpose, then byproduct of economy, byproduct of industry, byproduct of hospitality, tourism, travel, it will all happen. But the basic noble purpose has to be brought out. Even in, you are all experts of management. Even in management, when they first started with managing the money, then they said only money management will not work, so they wanted to manage the material. And then the third aim came, they have to manage the human being, man. So 3 aims: money, material, man. So human resource management also came. But then Japan came up and Japan said, no, this is not enough. You have to manage the processes. So total quality management came. And total quality management is the management of processes. And in that management of processes in TQM, they said there has to be a vision and mission. So vision statement and mission statement should be very prominently displayed at your place of work, whether it is a factory or an office or anywhere. That is the first lesson of management you teach. So you go to any office, there is a mission statement, there is a vision statement, which shows what is the vision and what is the purpose of this business activity or this any activity. This transaction enterprise which is happening here, whatever activity is happening here, it has this vision, it has this mission. I always ask in the management class, what will Malya do? He has a distillery where he is producing wine, where he is producing all kinds of different kinds of beverages, alcoholic beverages. दारू की फैक्ट्री का विजन क्या होगा? दारू की फैक्ट्री का मिशन क्या होगा? कैन ही से मैं ज्यादा से ज्यादा भारत के लोगों को नशेखोर बनाना चाहता हूं. I want to make more and more people addict. Can he put his vision as that? The vision and mission of any industry, even if it is alcohol preparing distillery, the vision and mission will be something noble. Giving employment to so many people, like that. Something noble he will have to put as his vision and mission. Unless you have a noble vision and mission, you cannot succeed. This is today's management. I am not talking about ancient. Ancient में इसको अधिष्ठान कहा है. भगवत गीता में कहा कि किसी भी कार्य को सफल होने के लिए एक अधिष्ठान होना चाहिए, एक फाउंडेशन होना चाहिए. A noble foundation only is the guarantee of success, Bhagavad Gita says. So for the whole concept of tourism, or if you want to call it industry, the whole structure of tourism industry, the academicians of tourism management, the teachers of tourism management will have to give a noble purpose. It is there. Our ancient literature gives us the noble purpose. Deshatana for character building, Tirthatana for spiritual enlightenment. So Dwadasha Jyotirlinga, 12 Jyotirlingas, 52 Shakti Pitas, like you gave example of our Vaishno Devi. Not only Vaishno Devi, Kshir Bhavani. Even at the times of turmoil, when the militancy was at its peak, this Jyeshtha Ashtami, which just went by last month, Jyeshtha Ashtami, there used to be a mela at Kshir Bhavani. Last year it was attended by almost 1 crore people. You see Kumbh Mela everywhere. Sabrimala is there. Then all over the country, you go to northeast, Parshuram Kund is there, Malini Than is there. Even in Tripura, the Tripura Sundari Mandir, every year, one season, there will lot of people will visit. The just other day, Ratha Yatra was there in Odisha. Supreme Court said there won't be Ratha Yatra. The Jagannath Puri Temple Trust said we will follow all the SOPs and look at the discipline of the devotees. If earlier years, last years or the year before, if you see the visuals of Ratha Yatra, lakhs and lakhs of people, you cannot get a place to put your foot. And this year, they were following the social distance in Ratha Yatra, 6 feet distance while pulling the chariot. That is the beauty of Dharma. That is the beauty of the way we look at things. Kumbh Mela, you see, people who attend Kumbh Mela, more than hundreds of the countries, they don't have that much population also, which attends Kumbh Mela. Now, this is not just tourism. This is Tirthatanam. And the Tirthatanam is much deeper, much nobler. So this Deshatana, Tirthatana. Tirthatana is with the spiritual purpose, with the dharmika purpose, with the religious purpose, with the devotional purpose. But Deshatana is with the purpose of character building. So in total, both this Deshatan and Tirthatan, in today's terms, if we want to define it in our tourism syllabus and curricula, it should be called as educational. The purpose of tourism is educational. Education, educating oneself, elevating oneself, whether outside or whether within. Tirthatan is within, Deshatan is outside. Wisdom, behavioral wisdom. So the vision of tourism is educational. Everything else, recreation, entertainment, enjoyment, industry are the byproducts. Main purpose is education. So every citizen, every student, everybody born in this country should get an opportunity to grow, to empower, to enlighten. And for that, he has to go here and there, either do Deshatana or Tirthatana. This I have named together for today. For the modern day, I call it Shikshatana. So this Paryatan has to change into Shikshatana. So tourism will have to name it in such a form. It is educative. It is the whole purpose. Even somebody after marriage going for honeymoon, it is educational tourism. He is educated. He grows into relationship. So it is not just pleasure, and then that will change the whole purpose of marriage. If your honeymoon package is for growing your relationship, it will change the whole purpose of marriage. And that's why in Bharat, for thousands of years, we are having this family institution so intact, because for us, marriage is not for enjoyment. Marriage is not for entertainment. Marriage is not for bhoga. Marriage is for creating a relationship. Marriage is for creating a family. Hence, our next generation, procreation, the process of procreation is in Sanskrit is called as praja. It is not just aja. Aja means to janma hona. To be born is aja. But for human being, it is called as praja. कुत्ते के बच्चे को प्रजा नहीं कहते हैं, मनुष्य के बच्चे को प्रजा कहते हैं. Why it is praja? Praja means prakarshena jayate iti praja. Prakarsha means one which is enlightened. My child should be better than me. और कितना बेटर? हमारे यहाँ कहा सवाई माधवराव. माधवराव का बेटा सवाई माधवराव. Savai means at least 125% growth in each generation. And that can happen only when this purpose of marriage is to create a better generation. So praja is the purpose of marriage. Then your honeymoon package will change. The whole purpose will change. It is no more just enjoyment. It is something more deeper. It is something more nobler. It is something more higher. And that's why Vatsyayan, when he wrote Kama Sutra, the Kama Sutra is, he starts with this. The purpose of Kama Sutra is to liberate. Moksha ke liye, samadhi ke liye. That is the idea of Bharat. Everything. That's why in Khajuraho we find such sculptures. Because we sublimated everything to the divine level. Even the kama, even the mundane activity of procreation, we took it to the level of divinity. That kind of a sublimation. So that noble vision and mission of tourism has to come to the forth. And then, if this is how tourism is taught, if this is how tourism is branded, if this is how tourism is advertised, if this is how tourism is publicized, it won't be the last industry to revive. It would be the first. Today, after the corona pandemic, Bharat is very, very, what I should say, fortunate, because we have family. And that's why Gharvas has not been that much problematic for us. For the West and so-called developed countries where there are no families, everybody is lonely. Post-corona, post-COVID, the trauma is the biggest challenge for the psychiatrist and the psychologist. We are not facing that much in this country. But if we define tourism, as I said, for not just for entertainment, not just for enjoyment, but for grooming of the personality, but for your spiritual elevation, then that will be the first thing everybody will want to do after the lockdown is over. That will be the first thing on the mind, because my psyche, my psychology has become traumatic because of I am confined to one place. I have to see the same scene every day. Only Cyber Prabhas will not do. I am seeing those 4 walls only. So that is not helping me. The first thing I will want to do is get out, go to some scenic place, go near the nature and be with myself, elevate myself. So tourism can be the first option after the lockdown is over. If we change the branding, it does not become non-essential. It does not become just recreational. It is not just luxury. It is the most essential part. Then the industry can be convinced that give your employees a small tour that will refresh them and they will become more potent and more competent because it will grow their wisdom. So that is what they are doing. Each industry is giving them tours to Bangkok, tours to Singapore, tours to those places and all that. But they think that is only refreshing because it is recreation, because it is enjoyment. No, it is not just that. That is the side effect, and don't go by side effect. We are doing this from the Western point of view, from the utilitarian point of view. When we look at the world, everything becomes utility. Where my father and mother, if they are not useful to me, I will dump them into Vruddhashrama, old age house, because everything becomes utilitarian. So the West has left us with this utilitarian concept. We look at utility of everything, and when utility is the purpose, tourism will be the last to revive. And when the noble essential of Deshatanam, Tirthatanam, and what together I named today as Shikshatanam becomes the goal of tourism, then the whole branding changes, then the whole purpose changes, then the whole industry becomes most essential part. The first thing to do after lockdown is over. Let us make this basic change in the mentality, in the attitude. Because when you change the standpoint, your viewpoint changes. If you are standing at economic standpoint, then your viewpoint will only talk about profit. If you are standing at a spiritual standpoint, your viewpoint will be more important growth, and economy will merely be a side effect. Today, because of this utilitarian concept, yoga also has changed into yoga therapy. Yoga is not for curing blood pressure. Yoga is not for curing diabetes. That is the side effect of yoga. Yoga's main purpose is to grow, is to liberate yourself, is to control your mind so that your character is built. If that main purpose is done, the side effect of BP getting cured will happen. But today we are giving more importance to the side effect. Same thing we have done to Shikshatanam. So let us change Shikshatanam. Let us change the purpose, objective and goal of Shikshatanam. And Parikshit ji, this will be the first industry to revive after the lockdown is over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Those were really very enlightening words. Shiksha Atanam obviously is going to be something which is going to be part of my lectures now, from now onwards. And obviously, I learned a lot of things. I literally learned, and we have so many eminent professors sitting over here, right from Punjab University, Chandigarh to Guru Nanak Dev University, and everybody is participating over here in this lecture. And I was seeing on the Facebook also, like there's so many people joining in and commenting about it. Sir, really, each word that you spoke is full of wisdom, and that gives us direction. And friends, this is what I was saying about a person who has delivered more than 8,000 lectures. So this is how, and it was all experiential learning, because I think Mananiya Mukulji has also traveled around the country at least 20 times and to the different parts of the world. So each state, he must have, each district or each destination that he spoke of, he must have visited at least dozen times each of these things. And then that comes from experience. Then all that information gets processed into knowledge, and it builds your character also, as he was speaking about, and it literally helps you to grow. Well, tourism, not wandering aimlessly, but tourism is going to be a learning for all of you. I think we all need to contribute and work up, and obviously help in the byproducts also. But the basic, the Shiksha Atanam that Mukulji referred to, is going to be the concept and the basis of all the teachers who are here. And students, obviously, you have a new outlook to think about. This was really a very enriching experience, sir. We'll again request you in times to come to discuss with our students. We have at this moment, sir, students participating, or teachers also participating, right from Kashmir to Ladakh. Also the participants are here, and from down south, Telangana, and I could see everyone commenting and participating over there, and on the Facebook also. We conclude this session with this thing. I would request